Hello, welcome to Indie Tutorials. My name is Guillermo and I would like to thank the patrons supporting this channel. Today we are going to look at creating the roll state and the backstep state. So let's go into our folder, and in the data folder we had this game input map we created earlier. So let's double click it just to revisit what we have done here. So we have in the actions settings or action maps, we have created this backstep action. Probably I think that we should rename it, because this action, which is executed when we press the button, the east button in the gamepad or the space keyboard, is we are going to reuse it also for the as mentioned backstep, roll, or when we are targeting an enemy, then we are going to use it to do the dash. But let's leave it as it is for now, and the next step we need to do is go and select our input listener component. So let's edit the script. And in here we want to register this input action. So right after the camera look, we can actually, let's copy the line here because I'm too lazy. So let's just copy it a couple of times, and instead of input action camera, we need to select here the actions, and for the action the backstep, and let's copy this section and paste it here. And now we need to add a delegate, a function delegate that is going to be executed when this action is performed or cancelled, right? So let's scroll down, and after our onLook we can create here our private. This is going to return a boolean, I believe. Actually we can leave it as it is. We just need to flag whether we receive this input or not. So let's call this method something like on roll or backstep, or if you find a better name for the function, just use it. And of course we need to pass the context, so input action callback context. And in here, when we receive this information, we need to actually trigger an event like we did here for the movement. So let's create that event. So let's scroll up, and after our event here, so let's the onMove event, let's create another serialized field, and this one is going to be a private Bool GameEvent. Remember, this is coming from the library we imported earlier from a system core from Hidden Engineering. And okay, so let's call this one on roll or backstep pressed or event. There we go. So we can copy this name and scroll down where we have this on roll or backstep. So we check whether it's null or so we don't have, if we don't have any listeners, it will be null. And after that we can just call invoke. We have invoke or invoke simple. We can use any of those. Invoke simple will only take a value. In this case, this is what we want. We want to just the bool value that we receive from the context when we read it as a button. Okay, let's save the script and let's go back to Unity. Okay, so now we see in the inspector, in the input listener component, that we have a new entry here for our on backstep event. So let's create that. We are storing our Unity game events under Unity events. So let's right click, create, system core, events, simple event, Bool, and let's give it a name. So on roll or backstep event. Let's go back to the input listener, but remember we are on there, we're using the hidden prefab, so let's open the prefab and let's do it from here. When Unity loads it, there we go. So we select the prefab and let's assign the event. Now that we have the event added to this slot, we need a listener, like the same we did for vector2. So let's create or add a new component, and this is going to be a Bool GameEvent listener. Let's move it to have it both listeners together, and we can add a new entry and select here in the event slot. We need to drag again our event that we created, and in the response, in this place, Unity event response, we need to select our character movement and put it there. We just need now to create a function that we are going to call from our character movement. So select the character movement and double click it to open it in Visual Studio. So what's open, let's make some room here, and we are going to add a couple of public Bool variables. So the first one is can roll and default it to false, and the second one is going to be public Bool can backstep, and let's default it to false, right? Now if we scroll back, we can see where we were handling the of movement function for the movement, so we can add it here, and let's call it public void on roll or backstep for the name of the function, and remember that it's expecting a boolean as a parameter, so let's call it action b action press, something like that. And from here we can check whether if the b action is press, that means true. So we can check if our movement direction or move direction is not equal vector 2 0, or we can use the default, which is the same thing as vector 2 0. So if we are not moving, sorry, if we are moving actually, because we are not, this is not vector 2 0, then we can roll, right? So can roll equals to true, and can backstep equals to false. Then we can handle here an else statement and do the opposite. So let's copy these two lines, put it here and do the opposite. So can roll false and can backstep true. I know there will be way better ways to do it, but let's keep it simple for now. Okay, so after we have our public function that we can bind in the inspector, save the changes, and let's go back to Unity, select the player character again in the prefab, and if we scroll down, we have in the character movement we set this Bool GameEvent listener. We have we're listening and we are going to execute our function, and that function is going to be in the character movement and it's going to call on roll or backstep. There we go. Okay, so that's bind everything here at this level. The next step is to create our states, our animation states. First thing we need is to go to our states folder and let's create a couple of scripts. The first one is going to be roll state, and the second one is going to be back, or let's Unity compile back step state, back step state. Let Unity compile and let's open up the script. So of course we need to inherit from our character state, and this is our character or state base class that we are inheriting. If I press F12 I can see the definition. So we need here a serialized field to store our clip transition. So private clip transition, we need to press Ctrl dot to resolve and fix the missing namespace, and let's call this one again main animation. We are just going to store one animation or one clip in this state, execute one state. Then in the we can override the on enter state or can enter state. This is the one that is going to check if we can enter this state, and the condition that we need to pass here, as you might guess, is whether the character, the reference for the character, then the character movement can roll is to true. If it's not true, then we cannot enter this state. We want to override as well the can exit state and set it to true, so we are free to leave this state as soon as it was requested by the state machine. And when we enter the state, on enter state we need to call the base of our state machine, because we are using for this one also the multi-state that we explained before, and from here we call our character reference, character animate, Animancer component play, and we want to play our main animation. As soon as this clip, this animation ends, we want to return to the idle locomotion state. So what we can do here is in the awake method, remember this is a mono behavior at the end, this is inheriting from behavior, state behavior from Animancer, which at the end is a mono behavior. So we have all the methods that a mono behavior has. So in the awake method we want the animation clip, or to register the on end event of this animation, to perform the switching from to the other state. So let's click here plus equals and let's call it on, let's say animation end, and let's create that function. On animation ended. And what we want to do here is call our character reference, the state machine of our character reference, and force set the default state. The default state, if you remember, is the idle state. Okay, after that we need to revert the flag, so character movement can roll and set it to false. Okay, so after having this structure of code, what we can do is just copy paste everything and paste it in the backstep, because it's almost the same thing. So let's just copy everything, control copy. Let's go back to Unity to select the backstep. And let me paste everything, just replace the mono behavior for character state, and of course we need the using Animancer namespace. So what we need to change here, of course, we can enter this state only if we can backstep, and this flag we need to revert it back, so can step equals to false. So let's save everything and let's go back to Unity. After Unity's compilation, now we have our backstep and roll state, so we can go to the player prefab again, and in this states game object we can add our backstep and our roll state. Okay, and of course we need to assign the character, so let's just drag the player game object which has the character class assigned to it, and we need to assign also the clip animation. So I have already imported a couple of animations for these states. So for the backstep I will select this one, backstep, and for the roll I have this one, so let's put it there. And I want to make just a small change, so I will change the end of the duration of the end of this clip to, let's say, 66. Press enter, and for the roll animation let's give it a try. Let's check it out. So something like this, 66 again. Let me check the backstep. $56. Okay, so it was the other way around, so this one is 56 and the roll 66. There we go. So we have added our new states, and here in the multi-state we need to add those. So we have the states locomotion state as the only state machine that is going to be executed for this multi-state. So let's add 2 more entries, and this is very important. Okay, the backstep state needs to be, and the roll state both need to be first or before the locomotion state, right? Because these two states can be interrupted. So let's select the backstep and the roll state. Okay. After doing that, let me check in the game object if we need to do anything else. No, we are good. So let's save the changes on the prefab and let's move on. Okay, so now if we go back to the scene and press Ctrl P to start play mode, we can start walking, and if I press the space bar we get this nice error message, and that's because I am an idiot and I forgot in the input listener script, so let's open up. We created the new method, but we didn't assign it to the delegate, so let's add it here. And the same thing that we are registered to listen to this event, we need to unregister. So let's click here -equal and -equal. Save. Let's go back to Unity and click Ctrl P to test again. So we can move as always, and if I were to hit spacebar, we do the backstep. Look at that. If we start moving and I click this spacebar, we roll. And if we were to check the can roll and can backstep flags in the inspector, we can see I'm selecting the ROM prefab, so we can see here in the character Animancer component the current state. So we are jogging, backstep, back to idle, jog, roll, look at that. Alright, so let's get out of play mode and let's move on. Okay, so before wrapping up this video, I wanted to show you that I'm using the animations I'm using are from this Unreal creator, Persia Ninja. So he has this set of animations, and in my opinion these are the best Souls Bloodborne like animations ever seen in any other marketplace. So currently they are on sales as well, so hope you like them for your games as well. And I will put in the description the link of the video with the workflow I used to convert these animations to transfer them to Unity. Okay, so let me get this out of the way. And as a bonus, for those who would like to call schematics when the states end, I'm gonna show you now how you can do that.